All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Thanks again for joining. Obviously, we're going to be talking about tag management today. Basically, we're going to give you a really good introduction and tell you everything you need to know about tag management and how it's going to help out your site and why it's good for you. Obviously, you see here, we're going to be presenting with Tealium, so they're one of our partners. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenters. Before I do that, if you guys have any questions at any time during the presentation, just use the questions feature in GoToWebinar. I think most people are familiar with that. So anything at all you have a question about, feel free to just type it in and we'll either address it right away, or if it makes more sense, we'll also be doing Q&A at the end, so we might hold it for that. So with us today, we have Adam Corey from Tealium. He's the VP of Marketing and Business Development. And Chad Ludford here at AddShoppers. He's the CRO, and he's also actually one of the co-founders. So that's who you guys will be hearing from today. And then real quick, before we get started, just a little bit about the companies. So I'm going to go ahead and start with AddShoppers before I pass it over. So AddShoppers is an on-site influencer marketing platform. So basically, you can see a little bit of up there about what we do. But basically what we help you do is we help you find your most influential customers, and we help you connect with them and kind of leverage that relationship to drive additional revenue and ultimately help maximize your revenue per visitor from your e-commerce site. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Tealium, and they'll tell you a little bit about their company and what they do, and then we'll go ahead and dive into the main content here.
Great. Thank you so much, and thanks to all of our attendees and to the entire AddShoppers team for the opportunity to present today and talk a bit more about what Tealium does and really what tag management is all about. So Tealium, we support a little over 600 global customers that are brands across e-commerce as well as media, financial services, travel and hospitality. A little over a quarter of the top IR 100 actually leverage Tealium to support all of their solutions that are embedded on their website. We're based out here in sunny San Diego, and looking over what AddShoppers has on their side, I got to say we also love pub trivia, and I think we're going to have to steal the idea for Friday office brunch. That sounds like a very necessary thing in today's world. So a little bit about what tag management is all about. So first, let's level set on what a tag actually is. So a tag is actually a piece of JavaScript code that most digital marketing vendors require their customers to integrate into their website or their mobile websites to actually collect either user behavioral data to serve up some functionality such as advertising or live chat or recommendations. Really, almost any solution that you might think about leveraging for your marketing business probably requires a tag. A lot of times we'll get confusion where people will think are tags blog tags or little naming conventions. In this case, we're really talking about the integration components that are required to do all the things that we need to do as marketers in today's day and age. So a tag management system is really the application that allows digital marketers and other professionals in the organization to deploy and manage these particular vendor integrations without having to worry about coding or JavaScript. You don't actually have to have a background or know really anything about JavaScript to be able to implement even the most complex solutions out there. You do that actually right inside of our user interface in a turnkey fashion by answering 3 simple questions. What tag or what vendor would you like to deploy? Where and when do you want to deploy them? Perhaps just on your product pages or on your order confirmation page. And what data would you like to provide to them? Are there key elements from the shopping experience or key product information that you'd like to share? Or is it a vendor that's just focused on conversion data? In that case, maybe you just want to send over an order total and maybe an order ID. That's what tag management is all about, is moving the responsibility from just one person or a developer that's responsible for all of the team's tagging needs to something that anyone can participate on the team because it doesn't require a degree in computer science. It's actually something that anyone with an understanding of the business logic can go ahead and implement right then. So why is this so important? When I started my career, we'll say, just a few years ago. But when I started my career, there were really just a handful of technologies that used a JavaScript tag. In fact, the company that I worked for about 15 or so years ago was actually the first one, and the VP of engineering was the one who was on the patent for using JavaScript as a way to collect data about website traffic. That person is now actually our VP of engineering here at Tealium. And it's funny in some ways that what started out as an analytics vendor with one tag has really exploded over the last not only 15 years, but even just in the last few years. If you look at the data in the chart on the right, this is from Chief Martech. And if you just go back over the last 4 or 5 years, we're talking a couple hundred vendors that are using JavaScript or tagging to do what they need to do on your website, to now close to 2,000 different vendors actually need this. And if you think about the amount of time each one of these takes, like you all have to think for a second if you've ever been through one of these implementations, 4 weeks to implement one of these solutions, for some of them can seem pretty ambitious. Some solutions actually require lots of team members to work together, and that 4 weeks can actually turn into a lot more than that. If you think about there are 8 hours in a day, and you have 4 weeks to actually deploy a tag, that's hours and hours and hours that your teams are actually having to work with one particular technology to get it live. And if any of you on this call have ever been through one of those deployments for a new technology that you've never used, maybe an analytics solution or something else, you usually don't actually know how much you want to use it or where you want to use it as the best practices until after you've gone live. So maybe you want to go back and actually make changes. So that's another set of time that you need to work with a developer to get things live. That's really where tag management comes into play, because it allows each individual stakeholder within the organization to add the vendors that they need to, make changes, and if necessary, tweak and optimize along the way. So it puts the control in the stakeholder and doesn't limit them to just having one developer responsible for everything. So this not only makes teams more efficient, but it also allows more people to have visibility into what's actually happening from a data standpoint. And if we look at the average site out there that has between 10 or 20 or even more different tags implemented across the site, this is actually a lot for one person to manage. So it makes sense for several people within the organization to play a strong role in this. So let's talk a little bit about the before and the after. So without tag management, what really happens is each tag is actually managed by an individual person and usually hand-coded onto either each page or into templates for the site. So when you're actually adding and removing tags, it's really something that's done within JavaScript. If I think back to, I often joke here about one of my first jobs when I was responsible for implementing a tag-based solution. I was somewhat fresh out of college, didn't have a huge background in JavaScript, but I was actually the one that was responsible for implementing a vendor. And so I made decisions based on my best judgment for how to implement that particular technology. It wasn't leveraging a tag management system because this was before tag management was even a possibility in the market. So those decisions that I made actually had downstream impact for other stakeholders that actually relied on that data. So when we think about what life is like with a tag management solution, I no longer have to go into each page or into each template and hard code JavaScript right in there for every one of my vendors. And remember, that's 10 or 20 or more different vendors that each have their own 50-page documentation manual or best practices that they want to guide you on. Now I can log into Tealium IQ and go ahead and search for the vendor that I am interested in deploying. Go ahead and let me answer those few key questions as to when and where do I want to load it and what type of data, if any, do I need to pass along to them. And now all of those tags are injected into my site without me having to do any development work or knowing any code. And that is quite beneficial when we talk about how we can speed up what a marketing organization can really do. So that brings us to some of the key benefits here when it comes to why our customers, those 600 plus enterprises around the world, why they're using Tealium IQ and really what's unique about Tealium IQ and tag management in general. As we started talking about getting a tag live on the site, that really helps me accelerate not just my deployment of a technology, but also allows me to accelerate my campaign time to market. If you think about a program that you might have that needs tracking tags embedded on the site, if I'm actually waiting to deploy my campaign out there, my advertising campaign, until I can get tracking tags implemented, I'm actually holding up my ability for us to be able to recognize the benefit of that advertising campaign because I need to get tracking in place. One of our customers a little while ago, McAfee, actually calculated the amount of time that they saved when they moved to Tealium IQ when they compared how long it took them previous to Tealium IQ to get a vendor live to how long it took after Tealium IQ was live. And in that case, they moved from 98 days to deploy a solution down to 1 day. And that makes sense when you're actually doing something that's not requiring developers, not requiring coding. It's something that can be done completely within a user interface. This also allows me to leverage best-in-class solutions like AddShoppers and others. So since I've removed the integration hurdle out of trying new technologies and trying something that can help bring a performance lift, or in the case of AddShoppers, help me identify my most influential customers and engage them in a more effective manner, I can actually leverage those solutions since I can go to my boss or her boss and actually say, hey, I can focus my business case on bringing this solution on board solely on what this vendor can do for my company and not have to worry about the amount of time and energy and cost we're going to lose when we implement that solution. So it allows me to focus purely on the upside and not have to get bogged down with other business requirements or technology requirements. Another one that's often key, and really key as we go into the holiday season here soon, is thinking about how different tag vendors actually could impact website performance. And that's actually core to what Tealium has built in our architecture, is building a solution that not only scales to the known spikes of Cyber Monday, but also the unknown spikes of some great product launch that you have that takes off like wildfire on social. I want to be able to make sure that I have a solution that's not only going to be there for my spikes, but also it's going to help me just on a regular day improve my website performance. So by having the most optimal, efficient implementation of tag vendors across my site and in key pages, we actually see our customers see an improvement in website and page speed. In fact, one of our customers, a very large e-commerce customer, recently wrote into us that said when they got Tealium IQ fully deployed across their site, they were shaving seconds off of their page load time, which they calculated as having a 13% improvement on their conversion rate. So this is now not just going from an efficiency play to now being something that's actually saving them actual dollars and making them money when it comes to conversion. Because we all know, and we all probably stay up nights worrying about every second that's added to a shopping experience is that 1 second that someone could easily go away to another vendor or come back later. That's not something that you want to worry about when you're deploying other third-party solutions. And really, as we get into reducing costs, we've talked about freeing up those valuable marketing and IT resources that would otherwise be responsible for implementing these solutions. If you think about it, they're now able to go back to doing what they do best. Marketers aren't having to worry about how to figure out JavaScript and getting a JavaScript for Dummies book. Our dev resources are not having to worry about what the marketing team needs. They can play a part in that puzzle, but they can all work on their own projects and oversee how each stakeholder has a role in deploying these types of solutions. So they're not having to sink costs into implementing solutions. They're able to free up that time to move on to other more strategic initiatives that can help drive results to the bottom line. And finally, standardizing your data. This is one that's often overlooked when we think about just getting one particular vendor live. But one of the things that Tealium IQ does with our customers is that we actually help you standardize all of the data that's collected across your site. This includes information about the person that's browsing your site, what marketing campaigns they're coming in from, what content they're consuming, what product details and order attributes are out there as they traverse your site and hopefully convert. When you standardize all this data, it allows you to unlock what previously might have been buried at the data point in vendor A can now be unlocked so that any other vendor can use it. And when you standardize the data, not only are you unlocking those data points, but you're standardizing the way that you talk about it. So if you call something product color, every other vendor can know that that's what you call product color, and you can serve it up to them without having to know the nuances of how each individual vendor might downstream translate that or call it something else. You can speak in your own language with the same standard of what that data actually is all about. So with that, I'll switch it back over to Chad, and we can continue the conversation a bit with how AddShoppers plays into that.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, so for everyone who's not familiar with AddShoppers, first we're going to go through just sort of a high-level presentation of what AddShoppers is and the functionality that we can help add to your e-commerce store. And then after I go through this and a couple use cases, then we're going to pass it back over to Adam to talk about how the data that we're collecting can be used inside of Tealium and how you can take this a step further from
just being able to deploy features that we're going to go through to being able to take that data and create advanced marketing strategies around that. So AddShoppers, again, we're an on-site influencer platform. So at our core, we believe that every brand has a set of influencers, whether that's customers, employees, partners, or whoever it may be, but it's a subset of your entire customer base. And these are individuals who are out there promoting your brand, driving sales for your brand, sharing out your brand on social media, and everything that we do at AddShoppers is built around the belief that every brand has influencers. So the way our platform is segmented, we essentially have 4 different categories for our applications. The first one's going to be Ad Analytics, which measures what's happening on your site so that you can identify who these influencers are. The next one's going to be Ad Social, which is all about plugging in social infrastructure into your store. So that's going to be things like sharing buttons, social login, trending wall, and purchase sharing. The next section is called Ad Referrals, which is all about incentivizing customers to perform some sort of social action, whether that's setting up a refer a friend or a referral marketing campaign, creating contests or giveaways, or incentivizing customers to share out your products and your brand. And then the last piece that we have is called Ad Targeting, which takes the whole idea of one-to-one messaging or one-to-one marketing and makes that available on your site. So taking into account what behaviors customers are performing on the site, who those customers are, do they have a shopping cart, are they about to abandon the site, and then being able to show triggers based off of all that data that we're collecting. So again, with Tealium makes it really easy to deploy AddShoppers on your site. You can drop in your shop ID, decide where you want that to go, whether it's dev, QA, or your production environment, and then you're pretty much up and running. We have one JavaScript code that sits on the footer of all of your pages, and then another one that goes on your checkout success page where it passes back order ID and the amount. But again, Tealium makes it really easy to get this deployed. I know any of our mutual clients that we have who do this through Tealium, it's always way faster than waiting on them to get in the next developer sprint, having it go through a QA process, making sure the data is getting passed back and forth. It's really seamless to get it up and running. So a couple examples or use cases. Haynes is a mutual client, and again, they deployed through Tealium, got it up and running really quickly, but they wanted to launch a Refer a Friend campaign where they could give 20% off for you and 20% off for your friends. So down below, you can see this landing page is running through our platform so that we can track who these people are sharing with, how many times they're sharing, how much traffic they've driven, and ultimately if they've driven any sales for the brand. So with Haynes, they ran it during a pilot period, and it paid for itself within the first 2 weeks of being live. So not only were they allowed to or able to get the campaign launched really quickly through Tealium, but the results of the platform spoke for itself after the first 2 weeks. Another one that we mentioned earlier is called Social Login. You've seen this on a lot of popular sites, especially on mobile sites and mobile applications, but it essentially makes account registration easier for your customers. On desktop, the real benefit is capturing who these customers are and making that account registration smoother, but on mobile, we've actually seen improvements in conversion rates because customers can go through that checkout process without having to create an account, type in a password on the little keyboard on a mobile device, and it definitely helps improve your conversion rates there. So a couple networks that we've recently added here include Instagram, PayPal, and LinkedIn. So even if you're a B2B marketer, there's definitely some options here, especially around Google and LinkedIn, where it's going to make lead capture and account registration easier for your customer through those networks. And then the last one that we're going to go through here is called behavioral targeting. So behavioral targeting is all about treating customers differently based off of either where they came from or what they've done once they got to the site. So up there at the top, you can see an example of Rosenberry Rooms. And for that one, you see pop-up modals on pretty much any site that you go to, but with the behavioral targeting, we're able to get those to perform better based off of what we know about the customer. So, for example, if you came to Rosenberry Rooms from Pinterest, then you would see this Pinterest exclusive offer that you're getting here. Or if you browsed around the site for a little bit and then you got ready to leave, then you would see that modal down at the bottom right where they're offering 10% off whenever you enter your email address or whenever you click the Get Code Now button. So by using this type of segmentation and these type of smart modals directly on your site, you can see the results down in the bottom left, but they convert 29% higher than ones that are not customized. And the conversion rate for customers on average who are filling out the email or activating the coupon codes is 31% across our entire network. So once you get your influencers and your customers engaged with these type of offers, the odds of them converting go through the roof. So here's an example of some of the data that you would be able to collect with our platform. And again, this is data that you can pass to the Tealium audience stream so that you can pass it into other networks and create marketing campaigns around these things. So a few of the data points, first name, last name, email address, male, female, birthday, location, and some of the other things that you see here. But the way that this can be used, for example, if you wanted to segment out all of the males and send them a certain promotion or show them banner ads for a certain new product line that you launched, or since we're pulling in their birthday, if you wanted to show them ads around their birthday or show an on-site pop-up or customize the shopping experience because you know it's their birthday, you can do all that with this type of data that we're collecting here. And then down at the bottom, you can take that a step further to identify which of these customers are sharing out your products, how much traffic they've driven for your brand, and even how many social referrals that they've contributed to. So for example, in this example, Peter shared out 9 times and 3 of his friends came back to complete a purchase. So obviously you want to treat these customers differently in your marketing because they're more valuable than a customer who just places an order because they're actually helping drive new orders from their networks. So with that, I'm going to pass it back over, and then towards the end we'll go through Q&A. So again, over on the right-hand side, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in on the right.
Thank you, Chad. And you know, I love your data point about one of the things that is always obvious to us as marketers, but sometimes it's hard to get there, which is, you know, when you can customize a message and have a relevant message for an individual that you're targeting, it's going to perform better. And that's really what both Tealium and AddShoppers are all about at its core. And I thought I would take a moment to talk a little bit about our approach to data as a whole. You know, when we talked about getting tagged live on a site with our tag management solution, for us it's not just about getting those tags live. We're not just a tag or JavaScript publishing engine, but we're really about unlocking that data that you're using for tag-based vendors. And when you think about what that data is, this is data that's describing what people are doing as they're traversing your site. They're adding items to cart, they're buying, they're perhaps, when it comes to AddShoppers, also sharing with their friends and influencing other revenue. All of these are data points. So when we think about this in a more holistic manner and not just on a vendor-by-vendor basis, but we think about as retailers and as marketers, what all we can know about an individual and what all we want to leverage, it helps us when we think about all of this as a customer data initiative. And so Tealium, when we think about tag management, that's really one part of an overall strategy that organizations are adopting for building their own customer data plan and their customer data platform with Tealium. And really when we think about what it is, it's about centralizing the management and definition of your most valuable asset, which is your customer data. So when we want to create that centralized view or that single view of who somebody is when they come to my site, wouldn't it be great if I could take action on them and know about that in every channel? As we know, people switch channels and switch devices all the time, but with a single view approach from one vendor of who that person is on each channel is not going to give me the benefit of all of these together. And if I think about the way that I shop, With some brands and some stores, I'm in the store for some of the time, I'm on my mobile phone some of the time, on the weekend when I don't want to open the computer, I'm on my iPad, and then sometimes when I'm ready to convert, I pop open the computer because that's where all my details are saved and I convert right there. So that's easily 4 different modes that I'm interacting, just in terms of how I'm interacting with their content and their product, not to mention all the other ways that I'm engaging on social and email and even via advertising. So what Tealium's all about is making sure that you have one central place to look at all of this customer data and make sure that every vendor that you work with has a complete view of who that customer is. And when you have this real-time customer data platform as your foundational element in your customer stack, it really allows you to achieve what our customers today are really demanding, which is for you to know about them regardless of where they go and have a full understanding of who they are. And we'll switch over here to the next slide. Hopefully that's catching up. There we go. And this is, when we think about what tag management was really all about at its outset, is not just starting with getting data from one vendor to another or getting data from your site to a vendor, but it's about thinking what all you could know about customers to really create the most actionable experience possible based on that data. So when marketers are surveyed, we have a couple of stats down here about what really stops them from creating this ideal world of knowing anything that they could know about a customer and then taking action on them across any channel to engage them. Over half of them really say that, look, it's hard, it's slow, it's hard to actually get vendors integrated, and even if they would love to be able to do this, they can't actually effectively manage this on an ongoing basis. And that's really core to what Tealium is all about. So tag management helps us by getting our vendors implemented and on the same foundation, and then when we build on top of that customer data, we're able to build more relevant experiences to them because you're bringing that full view of who somebody is onto every single vendor that you're working with throughout your digital marketing stack. And one other point that I wanted to bring up before we head into questions is to think about if you're ready or who's ready for tag management. One of the questions that I often get is, hey, what kind of a company or what's your ideal customer? And if you look across our customer base, we have very small e-commerce sites and media sites to some of the world's largest media and e-commerce sites and travel and hospitality companies. There's really not one type of a customer that makes more sense than another for tag management, because we all live in a day and age where we use lots of different solutions, and we need those solutions to be as effective as possible because we need to see a positive ROI out of each one of them. So when we ask the question of who's ready for tag management, quite honestly, anyone's ready for tag management. And there might be some things coming up as you're going into 2016 planning that could be even the best time to start thinking about tag management now. So with all of us, if we're thinking about all the different solutions that we use and the integrations that we have on our current site, is there room to optimize those? Do those vendors have new great features that I want to go ahead and adopt? One of the things that tag management allows you to do with Tealium IQ is that I can make sure that I have the best of breed, latest and greatest implementation of each one of those. But even more so, if there are new solutions that I've always been dying as a marketer to go and try because I really know that they could impact our bottom line, that's a great opportunity to start thinking about tag management because I'm now able to get solutions live in a much faster mode than I would have otherwise. If I want to go deeper with my analytics or customer data this year, or if I'm thinking about re-platforming my site or redesigning, those are, again, great opportunities to think about when tag management can play a key role at helping to speed those projects along when it comes to implementing technologies. And then finally, to the point that I was mentioning just a few minutes ago, if I'm looking to get more insight into the customer experience, no matter if they're interacting on web or mobile, and I want to surface those insights to my other vendors in my digital marketing stack, another great time to think about as I head into 2016, when the right time is to bring Tealium into the mix. So with that, I think Chad will open it up for some questions.
Yeah, hey guys, this is Peter from AddShoppers again. So at this point, we're going to cover a couple questions that came in. If you guys have any questions, can think of anything as we're going through these. It's not too late to use the question box and drop any more questions in, and we'll get to those. While I'm giving you guys a couple more minutes, if you want to have any questions, just want to cover if you are interested in Tealium, or AddShoppers, what's the best next step? So on this slide, and you guys are going to get a copy of this slides that we're looking at as soon as we're able to put that together. But Adam's contact information is listed here, so I would either just shoot him an email or just go to tealium.com if you want to check it out. They have a lot of great content and resources if you're interested in looking into tag management. And then on the AddShoppers side, you'll see Chad's information listed right below, so either shoot him an email or for us, the easiest way to get a kind of a quick look at the platform is to join a live demo. We host them every week. You'll see the link at the bottom. Just go to addshoppers.com/live demo, and you'll see the listing of all our upcoming events there, and join one and take a look. So let me go ahead and look through some of the questions that came in. Again, drop any questions in if you have any. So let's see here. The first one, this looks like one for Adam. So this question is, what are the benefits of Tealium versus kind of a smaller solution like a Google Tag Manager?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So with Tealium, what you're starting with is a foundation that is just much larger than what Google Tag Manager offers. So if we think about, first and foremost, the number of technologies that I might use on my website, if I'm using 10 or 20 or more, I want to make sure that the tag management vendor that I select actually has those implemented in a turnkey fashion. And Tealium supports a huge number. In fact, I think 850 is our latest count, but it changes all the time because we're always adding new technologies. And what that means is a tag management solution that has a turnkey solution for adding a new vendor and has already built out the integrations, like what we've done with AddShoppers, is really key. But I think beyond that, beyond just getting individual vendors live, if you think about all the other elements that are important for a tag management solution to make those vendors successful, there are other things out there, like making sure that your integrations with those vendors have the right data. We had a case recently where a customer needed to make sure that they translated values from one format to another, or they wanted to make sure that they could implement just in certain scenarios or on certain pages. All of these actually give me the ability with Tealium IQ to have the most specific and robust implementation of all of my technologies. Also, one of the points that I mentioned with some of the benefits of Tealium IQ is about having a robust, secure, great tag management partner that's going to be there for you on Cyber Monday and then around the year. There was a recent study done by Ghostery, which has a panel of, I believe, 17 million web browsers out there on the web, and they actually rated which tag managers are the fastest and the slowest, and Tealium was far and away the most reliable and the fastest solution that's out there. And you need that type of reliability because in a tag management solution, you're going to be placing all of your third-party integrations. You want to make sure that that tag manager is the most reliable and it's the fastest to respond out there. So these are just some of the ways that you can compare Tealium to another off-the-shelf solution.
Awesome. That's a great answer for that one. Next one here, this one looks like it's for Chad about AddShoppers. So the question is, can all of the AddShoppers apps be launched through Tealium?
Yeah, so pretty much every app except for social login, you can deploy directly from the JavaScript code. So once you have your Tealium integration set up and then you turn on AddShoppers, you'll be able to deploy everything from the sharing buttons, the trending wall, the social rewards, refer a friend, any of the apps except for social login. And the reason that social login usually requires more of an integration is because it has to create an account within your e-commerce store. So usually there has to be some sort of connector that ties our system into the ability to create an account within your e-commerce store. So pretty much everything except social login you can do directly through Tealium.
Awesome. Cool. All right, got another one for Adam with Tealium. So this person's wondering, what's the deployment time of Tealium itself?
Oh, great question. So in terms of how long it takes to get Tealium implemented on your website, well, there are a few things. So first and foremost, we have a number of integrations with e-commerce platforms like Magento and Demandware, IBM Webster Commerce, the list goes on, that allow you to get our solution deployed right to the website because we've gone ahead and built a native integration right there. So that's one of the things that can take the technical implementation time down dramatically. In terms of the total end-to-end time to get Tealium up and live, we've had customers go anywhere from a matter of days to a matter of a couple of months. And it really depends on where they are with building out things like a data layer. A data layer is one of the things I mentioned briefly during the webinar. It's one of the things that is the most important first step for somebody to take when they're implementing a tag management solution, because it allows them to take a step back from individual vendor integrations for a moment and think more comprehensively about all the data that they could know across their entire website as people are interacting with products and making purchases. That's one of the things that we guide our customers through, because most people have never done this before, have never thought through it. And going back to those e-commerce platform integrations, that's actually something great that we've done directly with each one of those e-commerce platforms, is we build the data layer for you automatically, and inside that data layer has all those rich goodies like product name, SKU, price, color, size, you name it, already surfaced and ready for the tag management solution. So it can vary, again, depending on if you built out that data layer and if you use one of those turnkey solutions. But again, that's really the biggest variable there.
Awesome. Nice. Last question here before we wrap up. Looks like it's for Chad. Can you tell us a little bit about social login for PrestaShop?
Yeah. So PrestaShop, it's going to be similar to Demandware, Magento, any of the other pre-built e-commerce solutions out there. It's essentially an app or a module that you download on your PrestaShop store, and that's going to activate social login for you. So if you're using any existing e-commerce platform, we pretty much have an integration ready for you, as long as it's something not really obscure. And those are usually just downloading some sort of cartridge or extension to get social login up and running. And then after that, everything else you can, again, deploy through the JavaScript code that we have at the bottom of the site.
Cool. All right, guys. So that's all the questions. Looks like we got through everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to, like I said, we'll send you the slides here, and we'll send the recording over to you via email as soon as we have that available. And then in the meantime, either go check out Tealium or AddShoppers if you're interested in learning more. And that's a wrap. Thanks, everyone, for showing up, and have a great day.